What's the best potential outcome of Stefon Diggs and the Houston Texans? And what's the worst potential outcome of Stefon Diggs and the Houston Texans? Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans and let's talk a little bit more about Stefon Diggs. The NFL world and Houston still buzzing about the addition of Diggs to the Houston Texans for a future second-round selection. The Texans already been hard at work getting acclimated to their new teammate, C.J. Stroud, Dell, John Mechie hanging out with Stefon Diggs, I believe out in California, and running routes, already putting in the hard work, already getting ready for the 2024 season, the big run, the one season currently that Diggs is committed to the Houston Texans. Look at that workout. Hanging out with internet personality Sketch. What's up, brother? Fantastic stuff getting there. But what's the best case scenario for Stefon Diggs in 2024? What's the worst case scenario for Stefon Diggs in 2024? Well, to get to those, first we've got to arrive on what exactly are the expectations for Stefon Diggs. So take a look at this. This is StatHead powered by Pro Football Reference. And these are Stefon Diggs' 4 seasons in Buffalo with the Bills. And when you look at this, it's 4 Pro Bowl seasons. It's 4 extremely productive seasons of football. Played almost every game, every season, over 1,000 yards, over 1,100 yards. His low point coming last season when he went for 1,183 and 8 touchdowns for the Bills. So a super productive player. Now, this is as the clear-cut number one, no question, wide receiver on a team. Look at those target shares. 166, 154, 164, 160. That is something that he is not going to get on the Houston Texans. In fact, as we flip over and take a look at the Texans in 2023, look at the targeting situation. Nico Collins checked in at just over 100 targets, and then it was very well spread out throughout the team. 75 for Robert Woods, 55 for Noah Brown, 75 for Tank Dell in his 11 games that he played. And then it drops off significantly, throwing the ball to tight ends, running backs, and backup wide receivers. So you got to kind of put into expectations what Diggs could put together when you start thinking about what he's going to see from an opportunity standpoint with this Texans team. A healthy Nico Collins, a healthy Tank Dell, a healthy Stefon Diggs, a healthy Dalton Schultz, a healthy Joe Mixon. You start to see how there's options to throw the football that aren't getting Stefon Diggs 150-something targets. So you got to kind of think about, let's say the 100-target range is sort of an expectation, getting it close to him from 100 targets, and then the reception number that you see there, maybe you can improve the yards per reception, which dipped down in his final little time there in Buffalo. But if you can get to that 100 targets, 100-plus targets, you start to see how that's the type of season that Stefon Diggs puts together. So my outlook here on the best-case scenario for Stefon Diggs in 2024. Well, the best-case scenario is he's the best wide receiver on the team, isn't it? The best-case scenario is Diggs is wide receiver number one. He leads the team in receptions. He leads the team in yards. He leads the team in touchdowns. And I think looking at that, just because he's the best wide receiver on the team in this best-case scenario, it doesn't mean Nico Collins had a bad season. It doesn't mean Tank Dell had a bad season. But best on this team with other productive wide receivers, the numbers to me look pretty similar to what he put together in his final year in Buffalo. His final year in Buffalo, almost 1,200 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. The best-case scenario, as I see it for Stefon Diggs, is, well, repeating what he did in Buffalo. And again, we're talking about the best-case scenario. That means he plays almost every game. He's happy here. He's successful in the offense. C.J. Stroud finds him. He's consistently getting open. To me, it feels like 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's that best-case scenario. And you start thinking about that with maybe a 1,000-yard Nico Collins season and a 1,000-yard Tank Dell season, and then you add in another 500 or so from Dalton Schultz, and you start to look, okay, this passing offense is really, really good with Stefon Diggs as the leader in the wide receiver room and the best player on the team. So to me, that's the best-case scenario. 1,200 yards, about 8 touchdowns. That's the best-case scenario. And that's pretty darn good. I mean, you give up a second-round pick in the future for that basically every year if you were the Texans. And if that's the case, you got to have a big conversation about trying to bring Stefon Diggs back. What does it look like if it's not the best case scenario? It's the worst case scenario. Now, the worst case scenario, obviously, if there's an injury, he doesn't play. So we're leaving that out of the conversation. But what's that worst case scenario situation look like? Well, worst case, he's the third or fourth wide receiver, clearly. Each week, two guys are better than him. Some weeks, a third guy is better than him. So he's the third or fourth wide receiver on any given week. And he has about 800 yards or so over the course of the season and a handful of touchdowns. And that's not good enough. That's not what you traded a future second-round pick, a pick that is more than likely going to be a top 50 selection in the 2025 draft. You didn't trade that to have a guy get 775 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's not why you move that pick if you're the Houston Texans. And kind of, where did I come up with that number? How did I arrive at that for Stefon Diggs? Well, I looked at his final few games of the 2023 season with Buffalo. Now, there are some extra mitigating circumstances to this performance, okay? These final 8 games where he amassed just 349 yards and 1 touchdown, and it checks in over the course of a season to 742 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, again, I talked about those mitigating circumstances. The Buffalo Bills changed offensive coordinators. They refocused the offense to throwing the ball to the tight ends and the slot receiver, Khalil Shakur, and they ran the ball a lot more in Buffalo. Not to mention Stefon Diggs, again, we talked about it, wide receiver number 1. This is what he saw from a defensive standpoint down the stretch. Patrick Surtain, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, L'Jarius Sneed, Stephon Gilmore, and Jalen Ramsey. In addition to that, in the playoffs, he saw L'Jarius Sneed again. So Diggs' lack of performance down the stretch is a combination of things. But it's also a red flag for people who are worried about the potential of Diggs in 2024 with this Texans team. So what does the worst case scenario look like for Stefon Diggs? It looks kind of like what I just had on the screen. A wide receiver that can't get open, a wide receiver that is not producing, not anywhere near to his average or typical production level as a pass catcher. And for Diggs, that numerically looks at like 750 yards and a handful of touchdowns, 2-3 touchdowns. And that's not good enough. That's not where the Texans need Stefon Diggs to be. And I have a hunch that if that is the type of performance he's putting in, some of those questions that people have about his character concerns, about what kind of teammate he is, how he treats his teammates, all of those things, that will start to pop up and be an issue if the performance is not there. If the performance is there, the Texans are winning, it's that best case scenario, I'm not worried about the character. I'm not worried about how he is as a teammate. But this is the worst case scenario. So the production's not there. He's an issue in the locker room, and the Texans are looking around thinking, yeah, this one-year experiment that we put together, it's not working out. No, by the way, spreading that cap hit over the next couple of years, that would not be fun to be thinking about writing a check that goes to the Stefon Diggs experiment failing in 2024. Now, that's just the best case and the worst case scenario. I feel like the actual truth is somewhere in between those two, but my goodness, wouldn't the best case scenario be a fun one for the Houston Texans? And wouldn't that mean something special for this offense and what they can put together? What say you? What's the best case and worst case scenario for Stefon Diggs? Let me know in the comment section down below. You don't want to miss out on the comment section. It's always active after these videos go up, and I appreciate you interacting with me on the videos in the comment section. On your way down to the comment section, throw me a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't miss out on the day 3 draft party that myself, Landry Locker, and Figgy Fig are putting together. If you haven't seen this, if you haven't put it on your calendars, go ahead and put it on your calendars. April 27th, the 2024 NFL Draft Watch Party. It's day 3 of the 2024 NFL Draft. Myself, Landry Locker, Figgy Fig want to see you at Daily Sports Club at 922 Holman Street. It's a fantastic bar. They got a ton of TVs. They'll have the sound on for the draft. Great food, cold drinks, big parking garage next to the building so you can park in there with comfort, not have to worry about where am I parking. It's over near downtown. It's, what am I doing, Cody? Don't worry about any of that. You show up, you hang out, We talk Texans, and we have a blast. You do not want to miss out on this. We're going to have so much fun. We've got tons of surprises planned for you. And ultimately, we're just going to get together and chat about one of the best off seasons that this franchise has ever had. And oh, by the way, we'll have just seen the Texans draft probably 3 key players the night before. We got to break all those down as well. Don't miss it. April 27th, Daily Sports Club. This is the pinned tweet on Twitter, on X, if you will. You can find out that information there. And we will see you the Saturday of the NFL draft. Don't miss out on that. We'll see you here for draft night 1 and 2 right here on YouTube. You don't want to miss out on that. You won't miss out if you subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.